I do have one.
All right. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Accuracy in America, brought to you by Accuracy in Academia. I'm your host, Don Irvine, joined by my co-host, Brian McNichol.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning. Good morning. This is episode, where are we up to? 368. Though once again, I have no idea if we compiled all the podcasts you and I have done together, what the real number is, but it's double or triple that.
368.
It's at least 368.
368 or more.
Yeah. This is the thing is that I never thought about really doing a count per se, but I noticed when I listen or watch other podcasts, that's exactly what they do. They either talk about it or they put it in their, headline or something in their description. And it makes a lot of sense because what you can do is that if there's something there, you did something, say, hey, I'll go back to episode 350 where we talked about that, blah, So yeah. that does make it easier in a lot of ways. So anyway, this National Mango Day. How do you feel about mangoes?
So, you know what? It was one of the things, it wasn't really part of my life for like the first 50 years. But in the last few years, I really they're in drinks, what do they call them? Smoothies.
Right.
They're really good. And like one of the basketball places we go, it's up there by you, the Adventist Healthcare Gymnasium, which is in South Germantown Park. All right. Big old, huge. I don't know. You ever been over there to see that? That place is unbelievable. But
no, look, I know where the Adventist, they had an urgent care thing that they're just closing down. So
they just sponsored this place. This is not one of their hospitals.
Okay.
But they've just bought the naming rights. It was built by the guy who started the Discovery Channel because his daughter was a soccer player and there was no place to play like big regional soccer tournaments around here. So he's like, okay, I'll build one. So there's a ton of soccer fields. The Washington Spirit or whatever, the women's team, they have a stadium. They actually can play games there. But there's a gym, there's cricket, they play there, lacrosse, huge lacrosse tournaments, they play there. There's pools, competition pools, a gym, all kind of stuff. So a big, massive park there. And it's beautiful. It's a beautiful setting back in there. They have it. But they have a lady in there in that gym that sells smoothies. And man, those are the best smoothies. And she's big with the mango. So you asked me about mango, I started thinking about that lady at Adventist Healthcare Gymnasium.
All right. So that must be the Soccerplex.
Right. The Soccerplex is part of this.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
There's much more to it than soccer.
I've heard a lot about I don't go up to Germantown all that often, and I thought, where is the Soccerplex?
Yeah, it's really something. It's impressive.
Oh, that's great. So yeah, mango. So if you get them fresh, they're great. So what my wife does from time to time is that she's been toying with experimenting with smoothie recipes that she's kind of concocted on her own. It's a lot of trouble to do it with fresh fruit, and that can be kind of expensive. But sometimes Costco sells these, I guess it is, I don't know, 2-pound, 3-pound bags of frozen mangoes, and between that and some of the other fruit like frozen strawberries and stuff like that, she takes that, some Truvia, some orange juice, and she tries to find the right exact formula. So she puts together this smoothie that we feed to the missionaries, and I get them once in a while as well. They're pretty good, but yeah, I love mango smoothies. I've done you get me to a smoothie shop, I'm going to be choosing the mango smoothie first.
Yeah, I hear you. Mango, strawberry together.
Yeah. Good stuff. Yeah, but I was surprised because the other day we were at Costco and my wife ordered, among other things, was she just ordered like a strawberry ice cream thing. She's never done that before that I can recall. She's always been kind of the chocolate and vanilla person. And then she brings the strawberry thing, and she actually I didn't think she really liked so straight strawberry kind of ice cream thing at all, but she actually did like it. I told her if I knew she was going to do that, I would have had her order the strawberry shortbread thing that Costco does, because it's only going to be here probably for the summer and then it'll be gone. So, though I will say, next to the mango smoothie, what I do have to get at least once a summer is a peach milkshake from Chick-fil-A.
Yeah, those are good too.
Yeah. Though the last time we were at Chick-fil-A, my wife shot me down. She goes, "How much sugar?" And I told her, and it's like, "Don't do it."
I hear
Well,
you.
two things. I think one is just that, it doesn't do a lot of good, and she's concerned that with my cancer that it's something that actually makes it grow and all that stuff. But overall, none of the doctors ever said stop consuming sugar, but I watch my sugar more or less because the treatment I have actually spikes my sugar and spikes my cholesterol. But I didn't know that until my last visit a week ago when this new PA gives me this 2-page thing about all the potential side effects and all these things. And all of a sudden, for the first time in 3 years, somebody, it was listed there that, you may have blood sugar and, cholesterol issues. And I'm like, okay, so that's why even though I have statins, my cholesterol has been moving up, right? So the statins brought it way down, but the medication is pushing it back up. And I'm like, I can't win.
It's a big battle inside.
Oh yeah, it is. It really is. It's just crazy. I mean, it's just I don't know. You live your life and hope for the best. Anyway, so we've got the war in Iran is heating back up. Missiles are being fired. Now we're seeing missiles going into other countries. Iran is becoming a little bolder. We've lost some servicemen, unfortunately, as a result of that attack and everything like this. So the liberals, they've been jumping on this, calling it the forever war, the endless war, things that Trump said he would never get us into. Okay, that's a lot of blather for me. I mean, my concern is that we're creeping up on the 5-month mark, and I really think, and I was talking to a guy who retired from the Marine Corps about a year or so ago, or a year and a half ago, and we were on another podcast, and I asked him about his take on this, and he ran for the congressional seat in CD6 here in Maryland. Good guy, smart guy.
Barrett?
Huh? Burnett.
Barrett? Huh?
No, Chris Burnett. This guy,
Okay.
he's a Marine. He was doing a lot. He was deployed. He was a lawyer, or part of the JAG Corps. Really good guy, and he said that he was concerned about the fact that this has been kind of dragging on. This was a week. This was several days ago. This was before things started to go haywire again on us. My thing is just let's get it done. Quit pussyfooting around. Let's get it done.
See, I'm with you on that. Even to me, even if we got to do a little bit of ground troops to finish it, do it. Make it end. Have an ending. It's like, they're going to criticize Trump, but if he doesn't put in ground troops, they're going to criticize him too. And if he puts in only a few, they will criticize. So, quit worrying about what they criticize. They criticize everything. It means nothing, So, yeah, I think that, finality is important here. Make sure this ends, and make sure that it ends with the mullahs out of power, right? I believe they've moved the young Ayatollah out of the country for his own protection. But the people who moved him out of the country and who purport to still be running the country are still the mullahs, right? It's still the same people. So until that ends, until that changes, then we got to keep the pedal down. Don't mess around. Make it happen.
Right, I mean, the thing is that forget about the court of public opinion at this stage. Now we're done with this. Okay, we've tried to do the negotiating thing, which was always going to be tenuous because you're dealing with these mullahs and
with rug merchants. I mean, they lie like they breathe.
Do you actually expect them to respect anything on a piece of paper they signed to? No. Right. I mean, you can hold out, 5% hope or whatever that they were going to do it, but it wasn't going to happen. And we have seen their behavior show, since, during these ceasefires that, they have no intention of doing things. They think that they have us on the ropes, but we have the firepower. We have the ability to take them down. And this is it. I don't care what the public thinks about this, because as you said, he's going to get criticized by everybody, all kinds of different fronts about whether or not you send troops in, you don't send troops in, how do you do this, all this stuff in. It's like, since you had gone in there and you wanted to free these people, you wanted to disable their nuclear program, let's go and do it. We've been at this 5 months. That's it. We're at our limit. Let's do it. Because the real fallout is in the election if we don't kind of fix this. Because what are we seeing now? 80. What did I put in here? 80,
Right
no, 87, $87 a barrel oil. Okay, let's go ahead and right back up again. And trajectory towards 100. It may not get there, but if they choke off the Strait of Hormuz again, they don't have to find other ways. All that other things going on there. Then I think there's a problem there because people don't, they perceive this negatively and don't understand why we were there and why we went there. Just finish it off because Trump can then walk away and say, I went in there, I want to do a job. Okay, so it took a little bit longer than I expected, but we're done. Mission accomplished. We got it done. We disarmed them. And so let's do it. Forget what the Democrats are thinking. Forget what the Democratic Socialists are thinking. Move. Let's do it. Yeah.
No, I've said this when it favored my side and when it didn't favor my side, but gas prices are everything, right? If gas prices go down, costs go down, more tourism, more people moving around, more food sold, cheap, price of food goes down. That is the affordability nexus right there. So, he's got the, that has to happen. The other thing that has to happen is, they've got to get some juice out of the voter fraud thing. You start to see, like, I think in the last, since we had a show, Arizona has said 97,000 illegal people voted. California has said 1,500. New Jersey said 6,600 illegals. Ready? Oops, illegal. I didn't realize this was happening because, the administration has said we're going to prosecute people we find who knew about this and didn't do anything about it, right? We're going to actually put people in jail over it. So all of a sudden, there's a lot of these little confessions. Oh, we didn't realize. Oh, we're going to fix this right up for you. But until they, they don't stop that, they're not going to win. The other guys want to cheat. They've set themselves up to cheat. They can't win otherwise. They know that. And so, if you don't stop the cheating, you will not win. I think the same, it'll also throw public opinion. It's like the same thing as like the war ends, price of gas goes down, public opinion favors Trump. The other thing is, it's like whatever they're going to do in Florida, whatever they're going to do with these indictments and all this stuff needs to happen, right? They broke those cases apart, and they've got DeGenova, isn't that his name? Joe DeGenova or something like that.
DeGenova?
Yeah. And he was prosecutor here at one point here in DC. And you got to get we made them into smaller cases. Okay, if they're smaller cases, then some of them ought to be to the point where they're chargeable, right? You got to start showing some progress. It's not just we brought a bunch of people down and scared everybody, but like you actually have something from this, right? And on both of these fronts, and both of these, you can say they're not being done for the purpose of the election, but the election does weigh in all these decisions. The action needs to happen, right? You can't, you do this October 22nd, it's not going to help you, right? It's got to happen pretty quick. So, they're running out of time. Votes get set in. Who's going to vote gets set in, Labor Day. It's kind of, you don't change a lot of votes after Labor Day. Right now, they're according to Cook Political Report, published by my fellow Shreveporter Charlie Cook, not Charlie Kirk, but Charlie Cook. Went to the same high school as Mike Johnson. Says 215 locks for the Republicans and 198 or something for the Democrats. So, but it sounds like we're way ahead. But those last, it's like baseball. Those last three outs are the toughest outs, right? So, getting those last three is going to be tough.
Yeah. The Washington Nationals bullpen knows exactly what that's like.
That's right. I'm glad you said that. That's a fun team to watch, right? Because they score the most runs in baseball. but they give up quite a few. It's not boring, man.
No, I mean, okay, so I didn't want to use this as a baseball aside, but I was so bewildered. They beat the A's. What was it, 23-4, and then the next night they lost like 15-1.
Yeah. I mean, that's what happens in those things. That's pretty funny.
I begin saying, is this banana ball?
Yeah. It is kind of bananas. What's going on?
Yeah, that's why. Anyway, baseball aside, and we may come back to that. Who knows? There's always a way to get a baseball analogy reference in here. Yeah. So as you're mentioning this whole issue in New Jersey. So Governor Cheryl. I mean, she's new. I mean, relatively new.
Right. And what she's talked about did not happen on her watch.
Right. And she made that clear. I think this was hilarious. Is that in essence, she threw the Murphy administration under the bus by saying like, this was the previous administration that was responsible for this, and so I loved how she just pointed that out. She wasn't going to take blame for something that happened in the previous administration. This was not a Democrat. This was his problem, not my problem. I am a transparent Democrat, and I'm coming to the fore. That's right. Right.
I heard I might get caught.
Yeah.
So now, transparent Democrat, but whatever gets you to the altar.
So 6,600. I mean, this in the scope of how many people are registered, that that it's not a large number, but we don't know how many more there are. The problem I have with this is these things are largely a result of that inane motor voter law.
Right. That's right.
When they put up motor voter law, they opened up the Pandora's box for stuff like this to happen. I mean, and Cheryl, I mean, the governor had said, I mean, they looked at these people and about 400 or 500 of them voted. Most of them didn't actually vote, and they're spread across the state, so it probably didn't affect any races. But there was a woman who knew that she wasn't eligible to vote, and they still registered her to vote. Okay, in a technical error. Okay, whatever. But this wouldn't have happened if you wouldn't give these people a license to begin with. Why are we giving these people licenses? And I know people. I have friends.
First of all, Cheryl is. She's from here, right? She's from Reston. She went to South Lakes. But the Oregon, like, you don't have to be a citizen to get a license, and you get your voter registered automatically when you get your license. So, like, there's no check at all on illegals voting in Oregon. None. Like, how can they claim there's any? You're going to give them a license and put them in the pile of voters right then. There's no, I guess you ask them, oh, are you a citizen? Yeah. Do I have to prove it? Okay, then yeah, I'm a citizen. So that's essentially what's going on. And that's it. And they can say, you can see the Democrats, they're scared about this because they're, this means nothing. He gave nothing about, turning over elections. There's no evidence. This. It's like, yeah, there is evidence, and y'all wouldn't be scrambling all this other stuff if this wasn't a kind of a hit on y'all that didn't make a difference. So they're aware that we're aware, and that a lot of times that's a big step in its own right.
So I have a friend, some family. They were from Peru. Wonderful family. I think the parents had their green cards, but the kids were they had to wait until a certain period of time or whatever. But as they were getting older, to driving age, they made a decision that they sent their kids to Utah to go take the driving test or whatever and get a Utah driver's license. And they came back. And then they eventually moved to Utah. But I was sitting there going like, you went to Utah to get your driver's license? Because I couldn't get one in Maryland at the time. I think this was pre-motor voter for them. And it's just like, this is insane. It's like, why are we doing this? Why do these people need a driver's license? It's like, these are the people that they're not supposed to be here. And we're giving them a driver's license, which gives them legitimacy to go do other things.
Right.
And it's just, I just think that whole thing,
access a bunch of public services,
Yeah. Yeah, it does. It does. And I think this is where, we've really gone wrong here. And, politicians, they need to rethink this, in terms of how this gets abused, and what happens, what the ramifications are. Even if you spot 5,000 here or 10,000 here or whatever, yeah, okay, it's not massive by the scale of how many people we have in this country, but it's very problematic, and we don't really know if this is just the one-off, the isolated incident, or is it a wider spread issue? And we don't know how the computer systems are, how bad off they are in these various states, because basically you have 50 different computer systems maintaining your driver's data, and then sending data over to the elections board and whatever. It's just, I don't know. We live in a better age where things we should be able to track that better. I mean, and why can Georgia do such a good job on elections and voter ID, and no one else? Well, I mean, no, I mean, but they don't get the same complaint. I mean, they do require ID. Okay, I mean, another states,
their thing is ballots in the back room, pre-printed ballots.
I mean, those are stories and what. Yeah, I mean, there's still issues of those things out there, because I don't know. We've allowed voting to.
Yeah, but it's not that. I'm just making the point. It's not the same as putting people on the rolls. These were what's alleged in Georgia is stacks of pre-printed ballots with only Biden marked on them. There's like 300,000 of them were dumped into the system or something like that.
Yeah, well, I mean, the thing is that whether or not how much of that goes on in the country overall, my problem is that we've created a monster by allowing people to vote in every way conceivable. Instead of,
see, I think Lori makes this point, and I think she's absolutely right. It's like the notion that it should be as easy as possible to vote is not right. It should be. There ought to be some work into it. There ought to be on election day, no matter how inconvenient it is for you, how much you have to bust your routine or whatever. You personally show up at the poll and you personally cast your vote. Right. That was asked of every American up till really, there were some mail-in states before 2020, but in 2020, that's when they tried to move us to a vote by mail country. And you can tell, and it's pretty easy to conclude at this point, looking back, that was done for corrupt purposes. Right. You have, because otherwise you have to explain how Obama got 66 million votes and Trump got 75 million and Biden got 81 million, right? There's like Biden is 20% more popular than Obama. I don't think so, right? I don't think there was ever a point in Biden's life where he was 20% more popular than Obama, right? So, there's some anomalies happen some which way on that one that, happened on that one and didn't happen in any subsequent ones, right? So, and I believe that, that Musk figured out how the votes got flipped and stopped it from happening in 2024.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you have that many ballots being cast, and whether or not they're all valid or not, the thing is that this is where you exponentially open up the opportunity for fraud and all these other kinds of things, and your error rate and whatever are going to grow with that. The states are not equipped to handle the volume of ballots we're getting now versus how they did before, and the way that they come in. They're not, their computer systems, their hand counting, all the different things that they try to do, they're overwhelmed. I mean, Maryland had the punch card ballot system. It's gone. We go through all kinds of, they've tried all kinds of different things to try to make it, but they're swamped, they're overwhelmed. And the chicanery that goes on, we don't really even know the true nature of how much of this is happening in America. But they need to put that genie back in the bottle and send all of us back to the polls. And I'm saying that as a mail-in voter, because I'm a lazy son of a gun, because they send me a ballot and I'm like, fine. But if they took that away from me, unless I could not walk or couldn't drive or get there, I would show up. I would find a way
You always showed up before, right?
I showed up before. I would show up again. And so, but they made it convenient to me to do so. But this is who does it favor? Not our side, right?
Right. That's right.
Why else does California mail a ballot to everybody in their state?
In the state, man, woman, and child. And why does it take California 6 weeks to count their votes?
Yeah, California is an embarrassment. I mean, this is United States of
America. That's not valid. I think that one of the things Trump talked about doing, and I think it's a good idea, is like you can count all the ballots you want after Election Day, but what you turn into us midnight Election Day, that's what we're going with. You got Sacramento out there. That Sacramento's disenfranchised. That's your problem. You figure that out.
As much as you and I have talked about, kind of the mess with the parliamentary system around the world and everything like this, the one thing that they do pretty well is that they actually count their ballots in a fairly timely manner.
Yeah. Mexico counts their ballots in a timely manner.
Yeah. It's like what is our problem?
Yeah.
It's because we've allowed the system to go down this hole.
Right.
It's like,
that's right.
Yeah. I mean, I'm getting too old, but I'm extremely annoyed and upset that this has happened, so, and I know you're the guy who shows up at the poll. Like I said, I'm the guy who just mails it in and being the lazy guy. But like I said, if you force me to go back to walk, to driving over to the poll, I would do it. I would have no compunction whatsoever about doing that. But you've now made me lazy. And you've made it far too easy for others to vote. And, we don't, I'm not really confident on, with all these mail-in ballots, on how good the verification system is for people sending in the mail-in ballots, right? I mean,
right.
So there's just so many things to go. Anyway, enough of that. But just it was interesting that Jackie Sherrill brought this up, and
Mikey Sherrill.
Huh? Mikey Sherrill. Yeah,
Jackie was
Jackie Sherrill. See, I'm thinking I got sports back in my mind again. It's like, where's the name Mikey? Okay, I'm sorry. Anyway, so she's. Yeah, so she came out there and threw that out there. In the back of my mind, I'm like, the timing with Trump fighting for the SAVE Act. It's like, did you just give him some additional ammo?
Right. It does
without thinking about it? I don't know. All right, so you mentioned gas prices, so they are going back up, and that is going to be a key. We have now. AAA says they're $4.06 a gallon on the average. It was $3.92 last week. It was $3.15 a year ago. We've got to get closer to that $3.15, and we need to get there by Labor Day. I mean, there are going to be a lot of people going to be complaining, the rest of July, the rest of August, about high gas prices for their summer vacations and everything like this. I just booked.
Tell me about it, bro. I just
yeah, right.
1,000 miles.
You went, right, and then you went into California and you saw the outrageous prices in California, but
Washington, Oregon too were bad.
Yeah. I mean, and I just booked a flight to Utah in September, October, and that flight would have easily a year ago cost maybe around $400 or so. It's about 40% more now. I mean, the fuel prices have an adverse impact on that. And I'm like, I'm going to pay it because I want to go, but I'm just like, this is just crazy to see that, and how much it affects everything we do. And if I go to Utah, I spend some money, I pump up the economy of Utah a little bit more than I would if I just stayed home. But how many people look at airfares, and gasoline prices, say we're staying more local, and
right.
we're going to downsize our vacation because the gas prices, just are eating. We can't take that 1,000-mile, 500
mile. That's right. And all the other economic indicators are swinging very good right now. The stock market all-time high. More businesses started in the last 6 months in any 6-month period in American history. Capital foreign investment is at an all-time high. all the money flowing into the country, wages are up and everything, but no one's going to see the economy is being in good shape until this one indicator, this one problem is solved. You got to get fuel prices down.
Yeah, and I think the administration knows. I mean, they're going to get hammered on this. Republicans are going to get hammered on this until it goes back down. I mean, this is going to be a little bit of an albatross hanging over them until this goes back down, because you can't compare yourself to Biden at this stage right now, because you're now starting to slowly gravitate towards Biden level territory on gas prices. So and we don't know where that ceiling is yet.
But it could all be repaired in 3 days if the
right. Oh yeah, I mean you go and you do what we said they should do at the beginning of the show.
Yeah.
And this thing ends in a few days. Those oil prices will collapse.
That's right.
And gas prices will then collapse as well.
Yeah, yeah. So, Scott Bessent will make the gas prices go down.
All right, we got to keep moving on. So I saw the story that came across the news about Daniel Ortega, who's been in power for something like 20 years, just about there parts on the second go around.
He went out of power and came back in.
Yeah,
so he's been in the second time now for 20 years.
Yeah, and he's up for re-election next year, and he just decided no more elections. Forget it.
We know what we know. Well, I mean, I think part of that is, everyone around him, all his fellow socialists got lost, right? Bolivia, Peru, Argentina, Venezuela. All his buddies are gone. It's been completely turned to the Ecuador, to El Salvador, U.S. aligned politicians. The people who look bad because they stand out from the crowd now are him, Scheinbaum, who doesn't appear to be a real bright person, and Lula, who will probably go to prison as soon as his term ends, in Brazil. So, it's trending Trump, right, pro-American, red, white, and blue on our continent, on North America, South America, and I believe that he's familiar with that trend and is trying to head it off at the pass. I don't know if he can get away with it. We'll see. It's like, I don't know. You never know about Nicaragua because it's an interesting place. It's the lowest average IQ in the Americas. It's in the low 80s, which is, you can barely stay in school in the U.S. in the low 80s. But also some of the most brilliant people in the hemisphere. So, it's an interesting public. It's an interesting thing he has to try to manage here, and I'm not sure that the people will put up with it.
Yeah, right. That's going to be part of the question. The question in the back of my mind is that if Trump could just take care of Iran, put that behind him, and get them to where they get some freedom, and we see whether or not it's followers of the Shah or others, but some freedoms start to occur in Iran. Is Trump going to pivot and put more pressure on Cuba, or is he going to look at Cuba and Nicaragua at the same time and say, well, we can Ortega, we've taken him out before, we can take him out again, but this time we'll make sure he never comes back.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, it's you look around the Americas and there's capitalism, there's freedom that is there. It's not easy to do in these countries that have been just entrenched with these left-wing policies forever.
Right. It's really corrupt, and so because anytime you have leftism, you have corruption, and so the part you have to unearth this corrupt level of corruption in the country. Yeah,
so it'll be interesting. I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing Ortega go. I don't see the country suffers, just like Cuba suffers with their leaders, and they would reap so many benefits. I mean, you think about all the people who streamed into the U.S. for the World Cup. Their eyes were opened, right? I mean, people had heard a lot of negative stories about the U.S. and about President Trump and everything else, and they are in all these cities across America attending World Cup games, and they're all of a sudden they're like, "Oh, we love America. We love Americans. They love us, and we can do things we can't do in our home country, and we see things and have things. There's things here that aren't available in our home country. It's amazing."
Yeah.
So I say return the World Cup to the U.S. Yeah, and whoever decided if it was FIFA or whoever was behind FIFA, whether or not it was Trump that encouraged FIFA to structure them the way they are in the different cities like they were, and they weren't all big cities, right? I mean, they weren't like the number one cities around. They went to some place. They went to places. I mean, thing is that we've got a gazillion stadiums across America.
Right. That's right. They went to Seattle. They went to Kansas City. They went to Houston. It wasn't New York, L.A.
Right. It wasn't the big glamour areas, but the people were great and the fans loved it. And for all the doubts that people had about the World Cup, and I certainly wasn't sure how it was going to go, I think it wound up being a resounding success.
Yeah. The FIFA guy said, "Can we have another one here?" And Trump said, "Sure."
Yeah, I mean, it's like
I'll arrange it in my next term.
They really, I don't know how any other place will be able to match it. Once you've done this kind of level of World Cup, how any place in the world is going to really match up to that for the fans, right?
That's right.
Because normally it's an A city with a humongous soccer stadium, and that's where things are going on. But to go out across America like that, what a wonderful thing! It was brilliant. It was a brilliant maneuver.
And it was like, on top of that, there were teams headquartered around here that played their games in New York or somewhere. They didn't play around here. They played, but they came and practiced, and so their fans were here, right? So it even spread people out. It even lets you see more of the country.
Yeah. That was great for everybody all the way around. So we have some other local, domestic political news, I guess. So there I was last week saying there's no way that Darline Graham was going to run for the Senate seat, and now she's going to do it. It's like,
Shazam. Life comes at you fast. Here's the thing about that. Everybody's like poo-pooing that, okay? But the candidates are a congressman no one likes, who's got some, harassing females accusations against him, a 79-year-old guy, and Mark Sanford. Okay. And so, why not her? Is she really worse than that? I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I've never heard the sound of her voice yet. I know she's been interviewed. I need to go watch some tape to see if she knows what she's talking. But, she was involved in his life, right? So like the idea, she's not like a spouse in level of knowledge, but I think that like she's who he talked to, right? So, I think like she's not ignorant of how the Senate works, and she's not ignorant of how staffing works and campaigns and all that. And she's been watching this her whole life. So, it's not like, some gas station worker or whatever being drafted into this. This is somebody that she's been at this stuff. And, I don't know how she will do, or, would she be a good senator? But, I also think that another thing to watch is that like Trump is trying to get some people into Congress that are loyal to him. They're not just loyal to the ideas and this and that and the other, but loyal to him. And I think this is kind of part of that project. So, because he's encouraged her to do this every step of the way and backed her and so forth. And, this is also a situation where they don't have a lot of good options. So,
yeah, I don't think she was giving that a lot of serious thought at first. I mean, she's got her own life and everything like that. I mean, she has obviously seen Lindsey during his long career in politics and what it takes and what it works. She's got a few months.
And I don't know if you know their story, but like their parents died when they were kids,
and he raised her.
And he raised her, yeah. So it's not like they're not just rando brother and sister. They've been very, very close for their whole lives.
Yeah, no, it's a great story. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how she'd be a senator. She's got the seat for the time being. and then they'll have a primary to select the nominee to run, and then we'll see what happens. I don't know. I don't know if the lieutenant governor's got enough chops there to beat her. I mean, she's going to be carrying the Graham name in there, and that probably will have a lot of weight with people. Plus Trump's endorsement. I mean, Trump really pushed it, and I didn't really think that she was going to be swayed by that, but she obviously has been. So let's see what happens. It's going to go to Republican, pretty much nevertheless. But the question is which Republican, right. I think more than anything else. So we had Arizona.
Which Republican, who's going to go to Maine? Holy cow.
Okay. So we'll go to Maine before we go to Arizona. So yeah. So Maine gets rid of a big problem. Okay. The guy was an abuser of women, Democratic socialist. I mean, he was far left. It was really bad. I mean, chances that he would beat Susie Collins was probably not all that great in my mind. And now the guy who's racking up all the delegates, I guess, is he's the Senate leader or former Senate leader, and he's about as far left as anything else as well. I mean,
right. He's also got a real bad temper. He threw a water bottle at somebody during a hearing, and screams at people and stuff. So I don't really see, I don't think they've improved their situation any. They probably should have just stuck with Plattner, because as bad as he is, he got 70% of the Democrat vote. At least the Democrats were willing to show up for him.
Yeah, but I mean, so his platform is he's Medicare for all, pro-abortion, tax billionaires and greedy corporations, ending support for U.S. support for Israel military, and abolishing ICE. So I mean, he's off. He's off on that tangent. So I mean, I think there's a pretty clear choice. I think if Janet Mills had been able to stay in, she was much closer to the center, and it might have been a closer race overall. But Plattner knocked her out. She decided not to come back in, and now this guy comes in, and it's really not, it's not really going to be any better. So they're not going to win this seat.
Right.
I highly doubt that they're going.
Collins wins again.
Yeah.
Yay, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, how old is Susan Collins now anyway?
She's got to be in her 80s.
Yeah. I mean, she's up there. We probably are getting close to her final term, wouldn't you think?
Yeah, I do.
I mean,
that might be a hard one to replace too, to hold.
Oh, okay. So to me, she looks 80, but she's only 73.
Oh, that's not
sorry.
I
never talk about age of a woman.
Aren't we almost that old?
Yeah. Well, anyway, yeah. People, you can throw brickbats at me, people, if you want to. Just that I was off. We were off by a number of years.
Yeah. So, please don't tell the senator.
She could serve a couple terms easily, and brings her into her mid 80s. That's not a big deal.
She's not even up to Grassley country at that point.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Well, I mean, this is the other thing about most people, not all people, but it has been pretty amazing to see, how longevity has changed America and the Senate and the Congress, where we have people who are living longer, so that we now have 80 and even 90-year-old people serving, with quite a few of them actually still having their wits about them. Yeah. Not everybody. Sometimes you see, I mean, we already saw our president, he already lost his marbles. But Collins.
You're talking about Biden.
Yes.
Yeah.
Our former president, I should say, had lost his marbles. So, that was already, that was a foregone conclusion that he was probably done. But yeah, I mean, Susan Collins, if the Lord provides, I mean, she's someone who could probably serve another dozen years, and then she could live another 20 years or something like that. You never know anymore. I mean, and who knows who wants? Is anybody out there that's close to even challenging Strom Thurmond? It's he was kind of the high watermark in that sense, but we're seeing more and more of these people live longer. So
he was swimming 2 miles a day at age 98 or something like that.
Yeah, but like I won't be living that long, so that won't be an issue for me.
Yeah. Ooh, I mean that's impressive. The other thing is, though, on the topic of the Senate, is where's Mitch? What's up with Mitch?
Yeah.
So
well, I mean, yeah, we have.
I really don't think that they would pretend he's alive if he's dead.
Right.
I really don't buy that they would go that far, right? But but he may be incapacitated, right? And they may be well be waiting past that date when they can't hold it. Bashir can't appoint anybody to announce it or whatever. There could be a little dirty political trick, but I think if the guy's dead, they're going to tell us he's dead. I just
Anybody who says that he's dead and they're doing this is like, no, that's not the case. Yeah, could he be incapacitated? Absolutely.
He could. That's like the people that they say that Trump is lying about the casualties. He's not lying about the casualties, right? The Army announces the casualties. They inform the families, and they treat everybody as well as you can be treated in those circumstances. And they don't skip anybody, and they don't hide it. So it's like there's stuff that they probably hide over there, but that's not one of them.
Yeah, I mean, there's always some shenanigans and something going on in politics, but you're not. This is not Weekend at Bernie's here or anything like that. So, So hopefully Mitch is not incapacitated to the degree that he can't live the rest of his life meaningfully, in that sense. But we don't know. I mean, there's zero information out there. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised, like you said, that if they're just waiting to the point where Governor Bashir can't do anything, and the Republicans, make sure that they've got this thing in their hands, so to speak. So Arizona had primary elections. So Representative Andy Biggs won the primary. So he's going to face off against the incumbent Governor Katie Hobbs, who I think is vulnerable. I mean, I think that's a potential thing there. The question will be is whether or not the congressional seats that opened up, for when Schweikert, decided to run for that office, and is whether or not those seats will stay Republican. I guess Schweikert's seat's a little tricky. It's a Jay Feely that won that primary.
Yeah.
So that's he's got some name recognition.
Yeah. That's not a bad get. I think that that's one of those ones that is listed as we don't know, right? And all those congressional maps and whatever. So it'll be interesting to see. Also, they've been real. They've had to clean up knock a bunch of people off the voter rolls there. So voter rolls should be cleaner, and usually when cleaner, it favors us.
So we will see how that turns out. So Andy Burnham has become the 7th prime minister in 10 years in the UK. If you're the queen and now the king, you're being like, how many of these every year and a half I got to meet with somebody? What is going on?
That's right.
And give them and say,
you got to schedule them in order. You don't want to be meeting with the previous prime minister when you got the new one in the office.
Oh, so yeah. So I mean, he's the former mayor of Birmingham and a pretty well-known guy and also left-wing. Those policies won't change. We're waiting to see what his cabinet will look like. But the Liberal Party made quick work of, once Starmer resigned, to get Burnham in there without a lot of discussion and move forward. The economy in the UK is, Burnham's not going to be able to solve it any more than Keir Starmer, kind of screwed things up with them too. I don't know that they're going to be able to do much with it. I think.
Well, I mean, the big issue is immigration. The Tories got
wiped out, I think the Tories have a chance to come back here sometime.
A big issue there is immigration, and he has no intention of doing anything to solve that. And I don't think it'll be the Tories they lose to. I think it'll be reform. Looks like reform.
Yeah, I mean that's a possibility. Yeah,
Poised to take over the next election.
Yeah, I mean, it could be that some of the populists they're done with some of the Tories for now, and they may be looking for the alternative. I don't know. I mean, this would Nigel Farage as prime minister. Now that goes up there with Boris Johnson as prime minister.
Well, I mean, I don't know about that. I think Nigel Farage is a little more serious politician than Boris Johnson was.
I like Boris until he became prime minister.
Yeah.
I like him more as the mayor of London. Okay, I don't know.
Yeah, but I think he's more formidable than people think. I wouldn't sell him short.
We'll see
a lot of bullets.
Yeah, we'll see how that shakes out, because if you've had 7 prime ministers in 10 years, you're on a very short leash. So, right. It may not be long before
they've told you they're not patient.
Yeah. It's like the clock starts now, and so by the end of 2027, you better show me something. Otherwise, we're going to show you the door.
That's right.
That may be what it looks like.
If not before. No, you don't got to snap before.
Yeah.
Same thing in Canada. So what happens? It looks like they have the votes in Alberta. Alberta gets asked to vote on whether to break away, that they would, right? So if that gets ready to happen, what happens to Canada? What happens to that guy, right? Because he's not for bending one iota to Alberta, right? And then the rest of Canada may say, what they're asking for is reasonable, So So Canada, I threw this on the list because. Not really because, so when the wildfires broke out, I posted on X. I said, well, kind of knowing, by paraphrasing, knowing Trump, I'm waiting to see what kind of penalty he'll impose on Canada for the wildfires, for the smoke. And I wake up the next morning and I see he wants to impose 3% tariffs, and I'm like, okay, this was too funny. It's not because I'm prescient or anything like this. It's that this is to me was very typical of Trump behavior. Wield the tariff, weapon, the bludgeon there, and do this. And why not? Why not say, the smoke and this haze is a problem for us. Fix it. Yeah, and it's happening every year now. And the thing about it is it is a real problem, because things get canceled. Kids don't go to camp. Vacations aren't taken. Tourist places have to close. Pools have to close. Baseball games canceled. Right? It poses a big cost on the East Coast, and it always happens at the peak of vacation season. Right? It always happens when it would hurt the most. So, I think he's right, and I think it's he's raising the same complaints with them he raised with California about cleaning out the underbrush. And, when we started living next to forests, right, we had to start managing the interface between the forest and the non-forest, right? And then you have to manage the forest a little bit, right? And that was new to us. And then, like, a lot of the greenies are like, just leave it alone, natural nature. And it's like, yeah, if you can stand those wildfires, then sure, we can just do things like we always did. But it's not like that anymore, right? The things have changed. Like, the forest is more compact now. We pushed it back a little bit because we live there now. And so, you're going to have to do things in the forest now. You're going to have to clean the brush and manage it, as we do here in the U.S. now. And Trump forced all that change. They were the Forest Service, people who run Bureau of Land Management were not going to change any of that. The Trump administration are the ones that had to come in and make them do it.
Yeah, and people kind of laugh. So they were like, well, how do you expect Canada to control, the smoke and everything like that just blows in? It's like, and my wife and I were talking, and we said basically the same thing. We said, if Canada practiced forestry management, they would not have this big problem. Right. And as you said, it's starting to come every year. I mean, it was, to me, it was, I walked out of my house that one day. It was, 4:30 in the morning. And so it's still dark, but, we're moving towards the morning. And I'm like, there's a odd smell in the air, and the haze was different. It's not like cloudy haze. It is that weird, kind of that smoky, and it's like,
Yeah.
wow, okay, what the heck, I didn't realize it had reached down to us at that time, and when you look at the sun, even as you get to like 5 o'clock, you can't really see it very well.
Yeah.
So, and for people, I mean, you see more people wearing masks and things like this because it does respiratory issues and stuff like that.
Right.
So there becomes a huge issue. So, they need to get their house in order up there and fix that, because, even for Canadians, they can't have that happening every year to them either.
Right.
So they've got a lot of issues there. All right, we're rounding the corner here real quick. So we talked about the World Cup a little bit. Spain won, very decisive faction, just amazing. I'm not a big football guy or soccer guy, but my hats go off to Spain for their, I think it was a record-breaking run. I don't think any team had allowed only so few goals. They only allowed one goal, I think, in their entire tournament, which is amazing. And they beat up on Argentina in terms of on the shots on goal. They only scored one. The goalkeeper was really good for Argentina, but it's just they just had a game plan, and they did it, and they walk away victorious. And I guess that's Lionel Messi's final World Cup, because he's 39 years old. Going to be kind of tough to play at 43. So not impossible, but
not impossible.
Yeah,
those guys, So yeah, and like you said, big show it was, and we were around in it for a while. U.S. was around it. I think you can see that, we're not at the top or even near the top, but we're moving, the movement's in a positive direction. And a good time was had. Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. And I heard that our ranking.
I don't think that, soccer is going to be any more of an American sport as a result of it.
Oh yeah, no. And our world ranking stayed the same. I heard this morning at 16. Well, Norway went from like 31 to 19 for their run.
Yeah.
And that guy Holland has just become humongous celebrity now. So that's pretty funny. All right, last thing before you're going to do the minute, right?
Yeah.
At the end here. So it's just layoffs at ESPN. These are always painful, I think, to the people, because they don't just take the lower level behind the scenes people. They do take people that have been on the air. Carl Ravitch, Ryan Clark, Stefania Bell. They all have their contracts ended. So ESPN, part of Disney, still showing that even though sports is a highly profitable enterprise, the cost of rights to air the games and everything else, as it continues to go up, it's an expensive proposition, and it does get hard to make money sometimes at it. And they're trying to find the right mix of talent and size to actually try to squeeze a bigger profit out of it. It used to be a hugely profitable enterprise, ESPN, but they've been, every year they go through these layoffs now. This is becoming just a fact of life.
Yeah, Carl Ravitch, we've been there like 33, 34 years.
Yeah. I mean, I like Carl Ravitch, but and it's just so shocking when you hear that.
Yeah, and Clark is LSU guy.
But, I heard that Clark. I mean, he was on the air, and then he
was on the air, and they tried to fire him before he found out some other way, so they had to pull him off the air and fire him. And like no other explanation from the other hosts is like he's just not here.
Yeah.
He had also gotten into some controversies that I think like over racial stuff that I think they didn't appreciate.
Yeah. All right. So we're going to try to introduce a new segment here. If Brian is ready to do this more or less, I hope you've been thinking about this during the show. I'm going to call this the Media Outrage of the Week from MRC. And I'm doing this because Accuracy in Media, unfortunately, my former employer and where my father started, no longer seems to care about media bias. So MRC is the king of the hill for me now. So I'm going to turn over about a minute or so to Brian to give us what is the latest media outrage from the MRC.
Well, the big thing going on over there now is MRC is working with the FCC to there are 8 stations owned by ABC, locally owned, network owned local stations. The outlets in New York and Los Angeles, not here. Here it's owned by the Albritons. But the big ABC TV stations, you can't pull licenses from the networks, but you can from the stations. And they're saying that they don't give equal time. There is a condition of getting a broadcast license. You have to agree to treat the two sides fairly, and they don't do it. And MRC obviously has documented their shows that have guests. The guests are all liberal. The news, it was 93% positive for Harris in the last election. It was 95% negative for Trump. So those kind of facts work against them. And so, I don't know what will become of it, but yeah, the FCC is considering pulling the licenses of these 8 huge network ABC owned local stations over their bias. So I think one of the things is you're going to have to prove it as to get broadcast rights. They can't do anything about cable, but to get broadcast rights, they're going to hold you to account for the promises you make to get them. And this is part of that, and it's probably not the last.
All right, there we go. And we'll try to make this a regular feature so Brian can have a week to think about there's always going to be a lot of stuff. So the hard part for you is to figure out what is the one thing that really stands out during the week.
That's right.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. Please, as always, stay safe and stay well. Remember, we live in the greatest country in the world. Do not let anyone tell you otherwise. And as always, God bless America. And we will see you again next week.